afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It's 5 p.m. here in the UK. Hope everyone's doing okay. I didn't do a recorded video today because I was live in the middle of the night. So I had a bit of a lie-in. Not too much of a lie-in, but a little bit of a lie-in. And then I had other stuff to do today. So I wanted to bring you this, though, because it's interesting. You know, what Mitch Westerman has been up to all these months, I've been speculating about for ages. So this is a motion to dismiss his case. His lawyer has written this, whose name is Michael J. Kyle. So we're going to get into what all this is about and how this motion potentially has some weight behind it. So that's what we're going to do. It's not long. It's only 3 pages. But I do want to kind of spend some time discussing it and also getting your opinions on it as well. And I'm going to say a couple of hellos first before we get started. Just give people a little chance to get in here. We're all mad here. JD, Mason, Holly, who's just watched my latest live. Good stuff. Shazza, CW, Flicking Bollocks. Afternoon, everyone from Yorkshire. Well, afternoon from Lancashire. Right back at you from the right side of the Pennines. Jackie, Purple AJ, lunchtime in Ohio. Plant Lady, Tracy. Fian X, I don't know how to say your name. Sharon, Mummy of Hamsters. Where's Shelley? Erica. It's 11 a.m. in Louisiana. Sweet Peas. What else have we got? Nana, 1, 2, 3. They're going to dismiss this shady deal. I have a feeling they'll dismiss it as well, but I don't know. It's got some weight behind it. I've got to tell you. Not that I'm a legal expert, just basic common sense. But we are going to discuss it. Ginger Doll's in the house. Pam's in the house. Who else is in the house? Macadam. What? Did you say your name? Unindicted co-conspirator and others. All right. We've got a few people in. We built the Pennines to keep you out, really. Good stuff. Good mid-morning from Texas. Who else is in? All right, we're going to get going. Like I said, I'm not going to keep you too long because this is only 3 pages. We'll start with the basic facts, just to remind ourselves what all went down here. November 21st, 2023, the state of Indiana charged the defendant, Mitchell Thomas Westerman, with the crime of conversion, which is a Class A misdemeanor. It's a form of theft. The state specifically alleges that between August 1st, 2023, and October 5th, 2023, Westerman did knowingly or intentionally exert unauthorized control over the property of Andrew Baldwin, to wit, images. I like it when in legal jargon they put to wit. I want to incorporate that into my everyday language. People around here would look at me like I'm odd, but I kind of like it. So we know from which Mitch Westerman's own writing, because he did an affidavit when all of that nonsense went down. Do you remember in October? He wrote a short affidavit saying that he did go into Andrew Baldwin's firm. Andrew was on the phone and Mitch snuck into the conference room where there was elements of discovery and crime scene photos there in the conference room. And he snuck in and took photos of them. Now, he doesn't say what date in August, and I don't think it matters, but it's sometime in August 2023. But then he sat on them for 2 months because it only came to light at the beginning of October when, for whatever reason, these photos, these crime scene photos, have been shared with Robert Fortson, who then committed suicide, not before sharing them to Mark Robert Cohen. And then it was Mark Robert Cohen, allegedly, you know, the nice guy that Murder Sheet talked about, who then distributed them to various YouTubers and podcasters. But my question has always been, not necessarily why Mitch did it, but why did he sit on it for 2 months? Or did he share it earlier and Robert Fortson sat on them? Who did the sitting? That's the thing I can't understand, and the thing that makes me believe that Mitch Westerman was put up to this. Sounds like twit, yeah. People around here would just think I was calling them a twit. However, it resulted, well, one of the reasons why Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie were unceremoniously disqualified from the Delphi case, from being Richard Allen's counsel. They were, of course, reinstated by the Supreme Court of Indiana. But this has set the trial back months and months and months. So it's turned out to be a very serious event. And I'll say again, I'm convinced that somebody's going to have to work really hard to convince me otherwise, that Mitch Westerman, who was the guy who Andrew Baldwin trusted because he worked with Andrew for 7 years in his firm, and after he left to take a job in ethics, Andrew and him remained friends. Why would Mitch go into Andrew Baldwin's conference room in August, and it was around the time that the depositions were going on, that the defense were deposing Jerry Holman and various, you know, Liggett and all of those people. So they had the discovery and, you know, crime scene photos that they were using for the depositions laid out in the conference room. Now, this isn't a public space. This is a private firm, right? So I don't think Andrew did anything wrong. I really don't. However, that's what went down. Okay. The probable cause affidavit in this case was filed with this information. So when he was arrested in November. The probable cause affidavit essentially states that at some point during the charged time frame, Westerman was in the office and or conference room of Andrew Baldwin. Westerman was alone and took photos of photos or documents. Photos of photos or documents. Well, we know there was photos of photos, right? What else he took photos of, though, we don't yet know. Did he just take crime scene photos, or did he go and take a photo of every single document that he could find before Andrew Baldwin got off the phone? If so, why? And if so, who has now got that information? We don't know the answer to that. That were left on a conference room table. Westerman did not have permission to take the photos, and that Baldwin was not present and did not give Westerman permission to take the photos. The photos that Westerman took were photos of crime scene photos from the Richard Allen murder case. So a whole bunch of creators have now seen them. I've never seen them. I've never been asked if I want to see them, but a bunch of people have. Fortunately, to my knowledge, nobody's been so crass and horrible, you know, to put them on a public site somewhere. I can't find them on a public site. So, you know, hopefully people have had the common sense to either delete the photos if they've been sent them, or otherwise, you know, keep them private if they haven't. But it's not the issue for me. What he photographed is not the issue for me. I know it's horrible for Abby and Libby's families, but it's not the issue for me. It's the fact that he went in there and took photos of anything relating to this case, anything related to the discovery of this case, sit on it for 2 months and then start sharing it out. Who paid him to do it? Exactly, that's my point. Who paid him to do it? And why did it all just get released? It all just started to cascade when McClelland was in a little bit of a sticky wicket. It's too much of a coincidence for me. It really is. Now, this element here is not contested. These are facts. These are facts because Mitch Westerman, in a sworn affidavit, has said that that's what happened. So, what this lawyer, Michael Kyle, is arguing is that they're charging him with conversion, which is a form of theft. However, the lawyer's saying that this case doesn't fit with what is necessary to convict someone or even charge someone of conversion. It doesn't fit all the elements. Yes, some friend he turned out to be, exactly. So I've read this 3 or 4 times now, and I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a legal expert of the law in Indiana, but I just don't know. So that's why I'm bringing you. See what you think. So the information, so the charge of conversion is defective under Indiana Code 353414 because the information fails to recite facts that constitute an offence and must be dismissed because they don't constitute any offence under Indiana law. So they must be dismissed under Code 353414A5. The defendant contends that if every statement in the charging information and the probable cause affidavit were true, the conduct does not rise to the level of conduct necessary to support a conviction for the Class A misdemeanor conversion. So we know that they are true. We know it's true. Or at least Mitch Westerman in a sworn affidavit has said it's true. So we are going with this as fact because Mitch Westerman has said it's fact in a sworn affidavit that he went into Andrew Baldwin's office. Andrew was on the phone. He went into the conference room, took photos of the things that were laid out on the table without Andrew's knowledge or consent. That's a fact. That's what he swore to, right? Okay. And they'll have his phone and stuff. They'll know who he sent stuff to and when. All right. So we know he's got them. But the contest here is whether it actually constitutes a crime. Paid or blackmailed, yeah? Yeah, could have been blackmailed, yeah. So what would somebody have on him? It's only he can tell us that. I mean, it's interesting timing. This motion here is interesting timing because on Friday, so is it Friday or is it Thursday? Anyway, the 1st of March, the depositions are happening for the contempt case that Slicky Nicky McClelland has brought against Baldwin and Rosie. And one of the people that they've deposed is Mitch Westerman. So that's happening later this week. So this is really interesting timing. This has been out for 2 days. Interesting timing that in the same week that Mitch Westerman is being deposed, his lawyer submits a motion to dismiss his entire case. Now, bear in mind, Slicky Nicky shouldn't have any influence on this at all because this has been brought out of Johnson County. So it is Friday, yeah. Is this year a leap year? Oh yeah, 24 it is. Oh yes, we get an extra day this year. All right, so it's Friday the 1st. Interesting. In the same week. But yeah, Nick doesn't have any influence over this at all. So it beggars belief as to how he's been able to have access to the messages, because he said he did. He said he had access to the messages that were sent between Andrew Baldwin and Mitch Westerman. So he is the Carroll County prosecutor. This case here is being dealt with out of Johnson County, not Carroll County. He's not the prosecutor in this case. And then the Idaho State Police is the people that have been investigating it. So Slick Nick isn't a member of the Idaho State Police. So how did Slick Nick have information about the messages that were sent between Westerman and Baldwin? Anyway, I digress. So conversion. The defendant is not admitting to every fact in the probable cause affidavit, and the information is true. What? Oh, I see. The defendant is not admitting that every fact in the probable cause affidavit is true. So just some of it. The stuff that he's written in his own sworn affidavit. This is simply a necessary presumption to make when doing the analysis for a motion to dismiss. Okay, whatever. All right. In order for Westerman, now this is the important bit, right? There's 4 elements that they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt if the charge of conversion should stay on his, on the books, not be dismissed. So in order for Westerman to be found guilty, the state must have to prove, next page, the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, I think there's 2. The first 2 we can say are true. Westerman knowingly and or intentionally. Well, we know it was Westerman because he said it was him. And we know that he did it knowingly and intentionally because he said he did it. So it falls on these 2 elements to discuss. Okay, Westerman knowingly or intentionally exerted unauthorized control over property. The property was images owned by Baldwin. So both of those things, this motion is stating, are not true or cannot be proven. Just not a thing. That taking photos of any document that's laid out on a table, they're going to argue that it isn't taking control over a property. Like, he didn't take them out of the building to take photographs of them. He didn't need to move them. He didn't even need to handle them to take photos of them. And also, they're going to argue that this wasn't actually the property of Andrew Baldwin because these are discovery materials. So let's see what they say. The information in this case is deficient because it fails to show that Westerman exerted unauthorized control over property and that the property was actually owned by Baldwin. Because it's discovery material, so it's actually owned by the state, isn't it? So, kind of see where they're going with this, honestly. Okay, exerted unauthorized control. Assuming all facts in both the information and probable cause affidavit are true, and we know that the basic information is true, that's because he told us, Westerman told us, the state has failed to state when or how Westerman ever exerted control over photographs or images found in Baldwin's office, found on the conference room table. The state has only alleged that Westerman took unauthorized photos. Taking photos is not the same as exerting control. So it depends on the definition of exerting control. Now, from a common sense point of view, exerting control is taking possession of something, you know, even if it's only for a very limited time. It's taking that, I would say it's taking that document and holding it and taking it somewhere. That to me sounds like you're exerting control over it. However, what does Indiana law say is the important thing. Flower of Scotland has gifted 10 more memberships. Thank you so much. You only gifted 10 memberships a few hours ago. You are too kind. Who's got them? And Amanda, Undited Co-Conspirator, Trophy Wife, Laura Downing, Manchester Vicky, Samantha, Magnificently Flawed, Strawberry Wine, Sharon Edwards, and McSporran. Was it your name I couldn't say before? I can say it now. Thank you so much, Flower of Scotland. So you guys get a month's free memberships courtesy of Flower of Scotland. All right. So Indiana Code 354341 defines, got a definition, exert control over property. This is a definition. Section 1A. As used in this chapter, exert control over property means to obtain, take, carry, drive, lead away, conceal, abandon, sell, convey, encumber, or possess property, or to secure, transfer, or extend a right to property. So we're taking a photo, so not moving, right? If you go into someone's office, you see that he's on the phone. So you go into the conference room, because you know the way you way around the firm because you worked there for 7 years. So you know exactly where to find things. Right? You know exactly where everything's kept. So goes into the conference room, sees all these documents laid out, and then for some reason known only to him, he takes out his phone and starts snapping photographs. He doesn't need to touch the documents to take photographs. So would that count as exerting control? Because he didn't need to obtain them, take them, carry them, drive them, lead them away, conceal them, abandon them, sell them, convey them, I don't know what that means, encumber them, or possess them, or to secure, transfer, or extend a right to property. Transfer could be interesting because he did transfer. He took a digital image of that stuff and then he transferred it to someone else. So I'm wondering whether the state are going to argue that he did transfer once he'd taken a digital copy. So although he didn't control the actual images, they still stayed in Baldwin's conference room, but he took an absolute likeness, a digital image of those photos or documents, and then he transferred them to other people. So I think under that, I think we can say he transferred control. Once he was in possession of that digital imagery, even though it wasn't the original, he could then transfer to anybody. He had absolute control then who he transferred that digital imagery to. So I think that's the only way the state are going to be able to argue that Mitch Westerman did actually exert control. So I don't know whether that's going to be a successful argument, or even that's the argument that the state are going to use. But it seems the only argument I can think of that it has to be something to do with having once you've got that digital copy, then you have absolute control who then sees it. How does this compare to copying or sharing pictures on the internet? If I take a picture and post it on the internet, I'll simply share that picture with another. That causes them harm in some way. Well, there are times when sharing pictures that you've taken on the internet is a crime. So you could be sharing copyrighted images that have been copyrighted by someone else, that are the property of someone else, and you can get done under copyright law. There are times when you've taken photos of someone, let's say, in a compromising position, like, I don't know, having sexy time or something. That would be illegal. Taking photos of someone else's child without their permission could be illegal if you share it. So there are times when your own photographs that you've taken can get you into hot water legally. Now, obviously, it depends what jurisdiction you're in. I'm talking about, like, obviously copyright law. You know, you've got international. When you're talking about the internet, you've got all those international issues to consider. Fair use. No, if something's actually copyrighted, then they can still argue that it's their copyright. If they've actually copyrighted it, like legally copyrighted it, then you can't use it. Yeah, Andrew Baldwin may not have owned the docs or pics, but he was in legal possession of them. Yes, I'm going to get onto that. You looked up the legal definition of transfer. Transfer is an act by virtue of which title of a property is voluntarily conveyed from one person to another. Yeah, but that's a physical entity, isn't it? It depends whether the definition of transfer, you know, because some laws were written way before there was the capacity to share information with people electronically. It's only in the last, decade or a little bit more than that, that it's been easy to transfer digital images to anyone, anywhere in the world. So there are laws that need to be updated because they don't actually cover everything now that they should cover. So that definition is about transferring a physical entity. But what about the sharing of a digital image that you've made of that physical entity, and then you, without the knowledge of the persons whose property you were in, because you've got to remember that this was in Andrew Baldwin's property. Even if the photos themselves were not actually Andrew Baldwin's, they were in his possession on his property. So you're essentially taking a digital copy from his private property and then sharing it out to the masses. Purple AJ has gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much, Purple AJ. Who's got these? Your local grandmummy, Mason, Fly on the Wall, So Sheepy, Ginny, Where's Shelley, Erica, Dina, Jen, Kelly, and Raggedy Hobo. Thank you so much. Sound gone, or is it just you? I hope it's just you, but let me know that you can still hear me. Can you still hear me out there? Shouldn't he be charged with violating the gag order? We're going to get there. All right, Pamela has sound. Right, so people, it's just you, Robert. Everyone else can hear me. Okay, let's carry on. The allegations in the probable cause affidavit and the information fail to show that Westerman did any of the actions required to meet the definition, exert control over property. The charging documents likely come closest to meeting the definition by implying Westerman obtained the images. No, I don't think it is that argument. I think it's to do with transferring. Flower of Scotland! It's gifted 10 more memberships. Thank you so much. Who's got these? So that's 30 new members in one live stream. All right, Laura, Monica, Alice, Rexy. Oops, jumped here. What else have we got? Sherry, Gailey, Chris, Regina, and Rachel, and Rambling Rome. Thank you once again, Flower of Scotland. So you guys, 30 people, get a month's free membership. Dear, that's a lot. That's a lot of new members. I'll be doing a members live in the next few days as well. So just very timely. So they're going from the obtaining the images. I would think that it's transferring of the images. It's transferring them from one form to another and then having control over that file. That's the way I think it should be argued. But anyway, the argument about obtaining them fails. Westerman did not obtain the actual images in Baldwin's office. Westerman only obtained images of the images. There is nothing in the charging documents that state that Westerman ever touched the photographs. There is nothing in the charging documents that states Westerman ever picked up the photographs. There's nothing in the charging documents that states Westerman ever possessed the actual images. He simply took photos. Taking photos is not in the statutory definition of exerting control over property. Maybe they should look at the definition of exerting control over property, because if images are protected, as in this, there is a protection order over these images because they're part of the discovery, and they're inside someone's private property, even if that person has given you access to that firm, you're still in someone's private property, and you still don't and without their knowledge or consent, you take photographs of stuff that has got a protected status legally. Surely there should be a law against that. I would think there should be a law against that to protect this kind of thing happening again. There are numerous examples of analogous behavior that are obviously not conversion. For example, if an individual goes to a museum and takes a picture of a painting with a no photo sign next to it, has that person committed conversion? Of course not. Yeah, but if they try to seek monetary reward from sharing that image of that painting, I think that breaks the law. I don't know in Indiana. You can't just go around taking photos of artwork and then sharing it around. I don't think you can. I think that's why they tell you you can't take photographs in museums. It is a massive breach of confidentiality when anybody gains access to evidence that isn't authorized. Yeah, it is. It's a betrayal. It's a breach of confidentiality. It's a completely immoral thing to do. But the argument here is it illegal? It has to abide by what is the law right now. It should. It's not about what should be the law right now. It's about what the law is right now that is contested. Indiana does have a surveillance statute that is separate from its wiretapping laws that makes it a misdemeanor to record images or data of any kind. Really? Well, maybe they should go. Maybe they should look at that. But does that relate to this particular situation, though? As a nurse, a breach of confidentiality is grounds for dismissal due to the litigation that follows. The legality is that they have breached confidentiality. That would be the current law. Yeah, so if you walked into a hospital, right, you walked into a hospital and you walked around, you know, the wards, and I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in what it's like outside the UK, but in the UK, you can go into a hospital and you can walk around the wards. It's like you just walk around, you just go in. and you could be taking photos of confidential information. You could be taking photos of patients' records, and that would be illegal. Surely that would be illegal. You can't just walk in anywhere and just start taking photos, because that information has protected status. Like patient records have protected status. So you can't walk into a hospital, find a trolley with patient records on, and start snapping photos of them when the nurses' backs are turned, and then start sharing them out. You can't, because those documents have protected status. Like the museum example. If you have artwork that has a protected status, you can't then share that information out. It's the same argument. I think the hospital is a better example than the museum, because the document, you've got no argument. You've got no argument about copyright. You've got no argument about whether a photo of a piece of artwork on a wall breaks copyright. You've no argument about that, because in a hospital, that data. What about the HIPAA law? Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You're breaching a law. If you take someone's, you don't even have to move it. You're not going to move it out of the hospital. You're not even going to move it from its location. All you're going to do is take a photograph of the front page of a record that you find in a hospital. Patient records are now on computer in the US. Yeah, there's a lot of them that are on computer here as well. But if you walk into a hospital, you can still find patient records. You absolutely can. They move them from one place to another. I could go to my nearest hospital right now, which is about, I don't know, 5 miles away. I could walk into a hospital right now, and I bet you any money within half an hour of being in there, I could have got a whole range of confidential information by secretly snapping pictures of patient information. I bet you any money I could. But I would be breaking the law. If I took those out and I started sharing them out to people, I break the law, because that documentation is protected. It's protected. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Kate Breton. Many hospitals still use the old-fashioned Cardex with the current patient details info on it at nurses' stations. Yeah, at my local hospital, they still have trolleys with patient files on them. They absolutely do. So in this case, those photographs and that discovery had protected status because it's got a protection order on it. So it's the same as patient data in a hospital. It's got a protected status. So if they use that argument, I think it's a better argument than the better argument from the state's perspective. If someone takes a photo over their neighbour's fence of the flower garden, have they converted their neighbour's flowers? Again, of course not. No. The flowers in your neighbour's garden do not have protected status. Therefore, you can take a photograph of your neighbour's flowers and share it with people on the internet because it doesn't have protected status. Whereas documents that have got a protection order on them in a legal case are different from flowers. They're more akin to patient data in hospitals, which is protected. So do you see that there's so many examples that you could bring where taking photos of someone's yard, or taking photos of someone in the distance, or taking photos of someone's dog, or taking photos of someone's house, you're not breaking any laws because they are not protected by any laws. However, when it's things that already have a protected status, like patient data or legal documents that have a protection order on them, and they are in someone's private property, to me, that's protected. To me, that's a very different argument than flowers or trees that have no protection, no protected status. So that's what I think. Now, if the museum patron takes the painting off the wall, or the next page, or the neighbour picks the flowers, then they are committing conversion. The difference in these examples is whether or not control is being exerted over the property of another. In these examples, just like on Westerman's case, simply taking a photograph does not mean the definition of exerting control over property. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how this plays out, because I don't think it's the same as taking a photo of someone's flowers, because it's of protected status, whereas flowers and trees are not. Could the pictures or documents be considered the work product of the defence? No, they're not work product of the defence. They're the state's discovery. So they're not work product of the defence. If some of the documents that he took photos of were I don't know, indexes or files that were prepared by the defence, or I don't know, trial strategy. So if Baldwin had written out a long essay about trial strategy, and Westerman had gone in and took photos of that, then yeah, he would be taking photos of Andrew Baldwin's work product. But that probably wouldn't be illegal. Whereas discovery from a case where that discovery is protected, that's different. That's the same argument as taking photos of patient data in a hospital. Taking photographs of someone's work product would be like going into a library or an office block and taking photos of something someone was writing on their computer screen. That in itself wouldn't be illegal. It might not be welcomed. It might not be welcomed, but it wouldn't be illegal. So for me, the issue is about the protected status of those documents. That's the issue for me. And that's how I think they could win this case. But what do I know? Because I'm not a lawyer in Indiana. I'm just using some common sense. I don't know. I'm just going to be really interested in how this plays out. And I don't think that this should be dismissed. I think they've made some good points, but I don't think this should be dismissed. I think this should be played out in court. It should be played out in court because it has important potential, knock-on effects for future cases. So I think it should be played out in court. Read Nick's contempt document. The state is still the state. They said it wasn't just plain photos. It was work product Baldwin created. I have read Nick's contempt document. The state is still the state. They said it wasn't just plain photos. It was work product Baldwin created. Well, if it's work product Baldwin created, it's not illegal to share it. It wouldn't be illegal for Baldwin to share it because it's not got protected status. The discovery does. Yeah, exactly. Unindicted co-conspirator. It needs to set precedent. It does. It does. And I think it's important. I think this is a really important case, even though it's only a misdemeanor. I think this is an important case to highlight going forward. Does law need to change? Read paragraph 12 of the contempt document. Okay, I will do. Curious if Westerman's photos match up to the ones that made the rounds. I'm sure that Westerman took more photos than have made it into the public domain. Exactly. Macadman. Why did they wait 2 months? Yeah, exactly. That was the thing for me. Why did he go and take the photos in August, say nothing to no one, and then they appear in October? That's the important thing for me. That makes me very suspicious that Westerman was put up to it. He was either put up to it, blackmailed into it, or paid to do it. This case will be course study in law schools for decades. It will. It will on multiple levels. Multiple levels. Work product does have a protected status. Baldwin owns it. He doesn't own the discovery, but he owns the exhibits. Work product does have a protected status. Does it, though? I mean, yeah, Baldwin might own it, but it doesn't have a protected status legally. Not in the same way that patient records do. Like if you went into, I don't know, someone's office and you snapped a photo of someone's work, they're not going to be very happy with you. But have you actually broken any law? If that document that you've taken a photo of does not have a protected status in its own right. If that document has a protected status, you've broken the law, no questions asked about it. If you go into a hospital, take photos of patient information and then share it out, you have broken the law without a doubt. And surely, in the same vein, if a discovery in a legal case has a protection order on it from the court, and then someone goes in, takes photos of it and shares them out, surely that is breaking the law, no questions asked. It's not even a grey area. Carol, welcome. Welcome to memberships. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Thank you so much. Okay, so what's the property of Baldwin? The state has also failed to show that Westerman exerted control over property of Baldwin. There have been no allegations made in the charging information that the images were anything that was copyrighted or trademarked. So we're back to the museum example. If a I don't know, exhibits in a museum had copyright status over them, and you went in and took photos of them and then shared them out, you've broken copyright law. So, yeah. To the contrary, the allegations are that Westerman took photos of images that were from the discovery in a murder case. Yes, but that discovery in that case has protected status. Has protected status. So it's the equivalent of being it's confidential. Legally, it's protected. So in a different way to something being copyrighted or trademarked, but it's still protected. You cannot take photos of protected documents and then share them out with your friends. You can't. So to me, it's not about who owns it. It's about the status of that information or that document. That document has its own status regardless of whose possession it's in, surely. Surely. Just like patient data has protected status regardless of where in the hospital it's in or who has possession of it at that one moment in time. It's still a protected document, whether it's on a trolley, in a corridor, in a box in the nurse's station, whether it's in the, I don't know, a doctor's office, whether it's, I don't know, in transit somewhere. That document itself has protected status under law, regardless of where it actually is in the world. The document itself is protected. Surely it's the same with discovery in a legal case that has protected status. You see where I'm going with this? It's about the document and about not about who's got possession of it at that moment in time. So although I understand where they're coming from and they're making some good points, and at first glance I thought, yeah, it should be dismissed, dismiss it. But no, when I read it again, and I read it a third time, and I thought, no, there's things here. This should go to court. There should be a legal precedent set about, you know, whether whether or not Westerman is found guilty of this crime or not. It's still a very important thing to consider in future cases, surely. Because this could happen in any case. You could have somebody who's a rogue employee in a law firm who starts snapping photos of crime scene photos and then starts sharing them out. You could end up with every single case in the entire world being compromised by people just going snapping and leaking them out. And I don't know, they could put them on a billboard for all we know. If you're saying that, oh, just because I've taken a photograph of it, it's my property. Well, all right, how would you like a crime scene photo being put up on a billboard? No, you wouldn't. No one would think that was lawful, surely. Because nobody should have the right to go in to a private office just because you're the friend of someone. You go into a private office, you take photos of protected documents, and then you share them out. It's why not? Why not just go and put them on a billboard? You might as well just go and put them on a billboard. Because once something's shared on the internet, it never truly goes away. I'm very surprised, actually, that those photos haven't made it into the public domain. I mean, they are in the public domain because there's random podcasters and YouTubers been sent them. Anyhow, these are not images that are owned by Baldwin. These are images that are possessed by other people involved in the murder case. Other attorneys may have these images. The state has these images. The police likely have these images. These images may be possessed by the trial court. Baldwin may own the paper that these images were printed on. However, as previously stated, there is nothing in the charging information to indicate that Westerman controlled the actual paper. Not the argument, not the problem. Not the problem. At first glance, I thought, oh yeah, he doesn't own them. But when you think about it, it's not about who's in possession of them at that time. It's about who has the right to see them and the right for that document, for that imagery to be protected by the court. So somebody going in who doesn't have the authority to do so, who takes photographs of them and then shares them out with random people on the internet, surely that's the issue and that's the crime. Like I said, I don't know, I'm just using common sense. And therefore, I'm very keen to see how this plays out. Our Court of Appeals has analysed the civil case involving an employee using the software of a former employer, Coleman versus Vladovich. Okay. The court held former employee's possession of software did not constitute conversion or trespass to chattel. As to employer did not own the software and instead licensed it, and former employee's illicit copying of the software did not impair employer's ability to use it. That's not the same argument whatsoever. There's nothing about that case that is similar, because the employer licensed the software. A former employee took that software and used it without a license. So, not the same. Not the same. Because in this case, the document itself has the protection afforded by the court. It doesn't matter whose possession it's in. It's not a licensed product, and you're arguing about, well, all right, can you use it without a license if you had prior holding of it? Not the same at all. Not even close. Not even close. Westerman's case is very similar to Coleman versus Wodovich. No, it isn't. Baldwin is similar to the company with the software license. No, he isn't. Simply possessing something legally yourself does not mean that you own it for purposes of the conversion statute. No, we're not saying that Baldwin owns the discovery. He absolutely doesn't. He's just been allowed to use it under law. The document itself is protected, so it doesn't matter where in the world that document is or in whose possession it's in. Sharing it out or digital imagery of it thereof is the issue. That's the thing that's being contested. Why has this case got so many different things going on? Yeah, well, this is its own case. This is Westerman, what is it called? State of Indiana, County of Johnson versus Mitchell Thomas Westerman. This is just an offshoot. This is an offshoot of the main case. However, it's very interesting timing, as I said earlier, why this dismissal motion has been issued now, when in the same week, Westerman is being deposed by Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie for the contempt case. A case within a case, yeah. Well, the contempt thing, you know, it's going to hearing on March 18th, is a case within a case. Yeah, the tentacles. Yeah, it is. Doug Carter, yeah, saying that this case has many tentacles. Well, the tentacles are now breeding new cases. The case is breeding. Because if Nick McClelland actually wants to bring a case of criminal contempt of court against Baldwin and Rosie, he shouldn't have done it under Indiana versus Richard Allen. He should have done it under its own case. I've no doubt that it was done deliberately, but for why? It's not a coincidence. None of this is a coincidence. None of it is a coincidence. None of it. Tentacles. Oh, that's good. Oh, I'm having that. Tentacles. Oh, dear. Exactly, Baldwin never dreamt that he would do this. No. Simply possessing something legally yourself does not mean that you own it for purposes of conversion. By possessing discovery, Baldwin is similarly situated to the company that has the license for the software. Different situation. If anything, the company that actually pays for the software license likely has a stronger claim to ownership than an attorney that receives evidence as part of the discovery process. Yes, but again, it's the document itself that has the protected status. It is a shit show. You're right. So for the above stated reasons, Westerman does not believe that the charging information adequately states the grounds that an actual crime has occurred. Because of this, all charges against Westerman should be dismissed. And that was written by Michael J. Kyle, who is the attorney for Mitch Westerman. So I think this case is, if it doesn't get dismissed, if it gets dismissed at this point, oh, something very strange has gone on. If this gets dismissed, something very strange is going on. But no, this is the state of Indiana versus Mitchell Thomas Westerman. It's a class 1 misdemeanor, and it goes to trial in May, as long as it doesn't get dismissed. But Mitchell Westerman is being deposed on Friday for the contempt case. Because of this, because of him taking these photos. So it's just the timing's all very interesting. Don't you think whoever called Andrew did it so Westerman could get the pictures? I don't know. I don't know, because we don't know who made that phone call. I mean, Andrew Baldwin himself might have made a phone call. I'm pretty sure he gets many phone calls in a day. Can you imagine how this must be affecting the parents of these girls? Oh, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. The families of Abby and Libby, terrible. I can't imagine what they've gone through for this last 7 years. And they thought the end was in sight. They thought a trial was coming up. And, you know, if Richard Allen is guilty of murder, double murder, and he gets convicted fair and square in a fair trial, then the case is done. But all of this absolute nonsense, you know, on multiple levels, cases within cases, and just honestly, seriously, have you ever seen anything like this? I certainly haven't. I've never seen anything like this in any other case that I've ever studied or had even a vague interest in. I've never seen anything like this. And I can't imagine how the families must be feeling right now. Oops, got some more memberships. Aussie TV gifted a membership. Thank you so much. And who got that? Dina Burdett. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, Aussie. It's very kind of you. What is the penalty if found guilty? I don't know, actually. It's only a class 1 misdemeanor, so it's not going to be, he's not going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I don't know. I don't know what the sentencing structure is for this. Why is no one else being charged with receiving confidential, protected, sealed information? I don't know. Just because you receive something doesn't necessarily mean you've committed a crime, does it? Because you can be sent something by email that you never asked for. So surely you can't be held liable for something that somebody just sends you in an email. But in terms of this contempt case, you know, that's the next big thing that's coming up. The contempt hearing on the 18th. That's the next big thing. If you consent to receiving it. What if you're told it's something that what if you're told it's something and then it turns up and it's not what you imagined? Receiving stolen property. Possession of stolen goods. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's just really muddy, isn't it? Fines up to $5,000 and county jail up to a year. All right, so that's. I mean, look, you know, his life's ruined. Whatever happens, his life's pretty ruined. You know, he's lost his job. His wife's left him. You know, he's got some pieces to pick up. Even if this is dismissed, even if this is dismissed today, he still has some pieces to pick up in his life. What about the cat hair? All on about the internet. Is there any truth or rumor? I made a video about that very thing 2 days ago. Was it yesterday or the day before? It's called the cat hair conundrum. So go and watch it. It's the first section of the video. It's this video. So it's talking about 2 days ago, Nancy Grace, the cat hair conundrum, and how Tim Miller found Audrey's body. So the first half of the video is about the cat hair conundrum in the Delphi case, because Nancy Grace talked smack about the case. And then the second half of the video is about Audrey Cunningham. So that's the video from 2 days ago. If Fortson took screenshots and Cohen took screenshots, they don't even have Westerman's photos. Yeah, but no one has Westerman's photos because they're only on, they're digital. It's not like, you've got to get out of thinking that these are physical entities. They're not. They're just, you know, bits and bytes on a phone. So it doesn't matter how you share them, whether you take a screenshot of something, whether you share it in a file by email or what, it doesn't matter. It's digital. It's really it's a head scratcher. It is a head scratcher. That's just the way I've looked at it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way that the law is going to interpret it. I've just used common sense. It doesn't mean to say that that's going to be the right thing legally or the thing that's found legally when all's said and done. The IP address identifies the sender and receiver. Well, it does, but you can hide your IP address. Just use a VPN. But you know what I would want in this contempt hearing? If I was Rosie and Baldwin, you know what I would do? I would depose Chris Todd, the author, Barbara MacDonald, and there's one more person whose name's not coming to me. There is another person. The reason being that Chris Todd in December of 2022 went on Court TV and said that he'd seen, within the last 48 hours, that he'd seen crime scene photos from the Delphi case. And then in September of 2023, Barbara MacDonald went on Court TV with an actual physical copy of the Odin report. So I'd want to know where they got those from. I would want them under oath to tell me exactly who had given them access to those things. I'd just be interested. I just want to know. And then have you seen what did the rounds? I don't know whether I'd be able to find it. But there was I did take a screenshot of it. Let me just see if I can find it. From the prosecutor's podcast. It was on Twitter. Hold on. I'm sure I took a screenshot of it. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I put it in a video. I can't even remember now. I've got so many screenshots. But it was dated January 2023, telling people that if they were sent crime scene photos, do not share them. Can't find it. I'm sure I took a screenshot because it did the rounds only like a few days ago. So many. They're not even in any order. So annoying. Like, you can label files, and so you can easily get them, but screenshots. Who names every single screenshot so you know exactly where it is? Here it is. I've got it. Okay. All right, I'll share my screen a different way to do this. All right. So this is from January 22nd, 2023. And it was the prosecutor's podcast. So they have a podcast, they have a YouTube channel, but this is from Twitter. A few weeks ago, I got an email from someone claiming to have crime scene photos from Delphi. I forwarded the email to the Delphi police. Subsequently, those photos turned up on YouTube. Following that, the same person emailed me claiming that there were also photos of the bodies. Now, I'm wondering whether the prosecutor's podcast are talking about Chris Todd, because Chris Todd, a month previous to this, in December 2022, went on court TV saying that he had crime scene photos. So, is the prosecutor's podcast talking about Chris Todd, or is there someone else who had crime scene photos over a year ago? So where did those get leaked from? Because in December 2022, Baldwin and Rosie had only been on the case for 1 month and they hadn't even got all the discovery. They probably only had a very small amount of the discovery by that time. So it had to be leaked from the state or from the cops. There was a further one as well. They further claimed that those photos would leak soon. I hope this goes without saying, but if you are in the true crime community and someone offers you those photos, immediately notify the police. And whatever you do, do not share the photos. Now, to my knowledge, no one got photos of the bodies until October 2023 as a result of Mitch Westerman going into Baldwin's office in August, holding on to them for 2 months, then sharing them with Robert Fortson, who then shared them with Mark Robert Cohen, who then shared them out to random people on the internet. Exactly. News agencies were already discussing the crime scene photos well before this happened. Exactly. Over a year before this happened, or nearly a year before this happened, they absolutely were, because in December 2022, court TV, I've got the clip, I've played the clip multiple times in videos. Chris Todd with Vinnie Politan said he had crime scene photos, and Vinnie Politan was like, let it fly, give me all the information. And then Chris Todd went on to say that the girls have been sexually assaulted. And he went on to say that one of them was in clothes and one of them was naked. So I'd clearly seen, or at least had intimate information about the crime scene. Now, there's no evidence ever come out that the girls were SA'd. There's never been any, like, Richard Allen's not been charged with any sexual offences. No one else has been charged with SA. If there was absolute positive signs that they were SA'd, there'd be also a sexual offence charge as well. But there isn't. But if I was Baldwin and Rosie, I would want to depose Chris Todd, Barbara MacDonald, and I'd maybe that. Oh, what about the murder sheet? I'd like to depose the murder sheet as well, just because I'd like to see what they've been given access to all these years. So, yeah, that's what I do. I go to complete town over it. Pardon me, I'll put on my tinfoil hat, but it all reeks of conspiracy. There's something really, really dirty in Delphi. Really dirty. And it doesn't matter. Nothing to do with Richard Allen's guilt or innocence. Unfortunately, the actual case has been just kicked down kicked down the road. There's no justice for Abby and Libby anytime soon. So even if you think Richard Allen is the guilty party, all of this nonsense has kicked the can of, convicting Richard Allen to months and months and months down the line. All this should be done and dusted by now. The trial should have been and gone. And if Richard Allen was found guilty in a fair trial, then so be it. So unfortunately, this is all now a case of, fighting for what is right, what is just. Not about, unfortunately, Abby and Libby. Mitch does dirty in Delphi. Yeah. Oh, I'll pass on that video title. Yeah, he does, Chris Todd, he does. He does. He always leaves with this cliffhanger and he never delivers. Yeah, absolutely. But this time, at least what he actually said in December 2022 has now been borne out to be true. That one girl was dressed and the other was naked. So, all right, that's all I wanted to share with you. I wanted to just give you my opinion, whether I just think it's interesting. It's interesting how this particular case now, the offshoot case will play out. But I really don't think it should be dismissed. I think it should be played. I think this should go to court. It should play out in court. Odin has come down from Valhalla to protect all criminal followers with all this nonsense. Yeah, I don't think all these people are going to be going to Valhalla anytime soon. Valhalla is for noble warriors, not for riffraff who commit murders against children or steal crime scene photos. That's not what Odin wants in Valhalla. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. All right, gonna go now. It's nearly 6:30 in the PM for me. It's gone dark while I've been talking to you. Love it to go to court. Yeah, interesting. Just how it plays out. These old laws, they get shaken up every so often. You got to make new laws. But yeah, in the next few days, I'm going to be doing a members live. I do have a topic, so I shall. I'll see you before then, but I'm just saying. All right, guys. So thanks for joining me. Thanks as always to the mods. Did I have any mods in? I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, I did. I remember seeing some mods in. So thank you as always. Not that there's been any trouble. Thank you to the people who donated memberships. Very kind of you. I think we've had 32 new members in this live stream alone. So it's really good. Really good. check out the members tab. How you find it, you just go here. Hold on. Just go here. So this is the channel homepage. Just go to membership, and then you see I've not posted anything in the members area for a couple of weeks, but there will be a members live very soon. There's some bloopers, there's some silly little videos, and then you get all the reruns of the lives that I've done previous, and some status updates, which are mainly dogs. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day or your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, folks.